Hey everyone, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff, and today I wanted to share something really cool that came in this most recent issue of White Dwarf magazine. If you're not familiar, if you're new to the hobby, Games Workshop has their own magazine line that basically, offers all kinds of stuff from lore to play tips to cool models that are showcased for painting in their own little magazine. But there's a really cool article in here that I wanted to explore because, like myself, many people struggle to come up with original lore for their army. And it turns out in this edition, one of the lead writers, Andy Clark from Games Workshop, actually created this fun little generator to help you come up with your factions, lore, and stuff. And I just wanted to showcase it to help you get some ideas. So here we are down at the White Dwarf issue 471, as you can see, and I went ahead and bookmarked the page. And so this is an article, again, like I said, by Andy Clark, and this generator works for both 40k and Age of Sigmar. They are both super rich, varied settings that you can work the possibilities off for either of them. And fundamentally, the stories of heroes and champions are not too dissimilar between the two. It's just a matter of the tools that they use, whether it's swords or laser guns, to achieve them. Go ahead and give this a read. Basically, he just kind of outlines what we're going to talk about, so I'm just going to summarize a bit. Essentially, they have this table created, and so there's multiple sets of options. Here we go. So, roll 1, origin story. So you're going to roll a die, and on a 1 through 3, you'll use table A. On a 4 through 6, you use table B. And then when you decide what table you're using, roll a d6 again, and it'll give you one of those options. They basically do this when they want to have 12, but refuse to use a d12 for whatever reason. Anyway, so let's get a die and check this out. Got my trusty Blood Bowl die here. Let's do this. So we have our origin story. What twists of fate or military agendas have seen this force drawn together and hurled into battle? Where do they come from, and how does it affect them? So which table? So we're using table A. Let's see. A 1. Tragic survivors. A tragedy led to the formation of this force. Some terrible loss of life which they alone were lucky enough to survive. Now, when I put this together for you, understand these are an outline of story beats. You then layer on top of them whatever fantasy you want. So, Tragic Survivors is a generic start to a hero's journey, right? They lost everything. Let's say, for example, that we were building a Cities of Sigmar force. Maybe this army was an expeditionary force that went out to go find a new place to set up a new settlement or an encampment, and when they came back, their whole city was destroyed. So they are tragic survivors. That story, it was me layering details of various factions and stuff like that on top of this little one-sentence blurb. And that's what you do. You collect these ideas individually, and then you can weave a narrative on top of them. So let's go to the second one. Their mission. What is your army seeking to do? What ongoing purpose of grand quest do they fight their battles in aid of? Which table? 3? Sticking with table A. Let's see. Hopefully these Blood Bowl dice are kinder to me later. 6. Okay. Questors. A sworn oath or mighty questing duty sees this army forge a path through all before them, determined to fulfill their destinies. Maybe our same story, right? The tragic survivors who came back to their city and it was destroyed. Now that they've lost everything, they're like, you know what? We're just going on a tear. We're going to fight chaos wherever we can and establish settlements as we go and as needed. So they're basically now an independent mercenary company roving around, right? Isn't that awesome? I love it. Roll 3, home base. Okay, we're on table A. And which result? That is a 2. Holy site. The army defends a site of great holy significance and is blessed by the priesthood that resides there. Maybe this mercenary company stumbled onto a Sigmar church or something like that. And they're like, well, we don't have a place to defend. We're an army without a home. Let's just save these guys, basically. And all the priests are like, yay! And then 4, your army quirk. What is it about your army that makes them stand out? What oddity of temperament or tactics really gives them that extra splash of unique personality? And this is one that I would honestly say read it first, and if anything stands out to you, just pick it. But if you really don't know, table A, and which one? 5. Cunning and subtle, the forces warriors prize stealth and the art of swift and silent killing, striking then vanishing like ghosts. There you go. And so you can lean into that as much as you want, because this has more to do with how they actually act on the table. I could say definitely just pick whatever you want, but that's the basic beats of it. And so again, tragic survivors of a thing. They are questors running around trying to just do a mission that they think would add value to their lives or give their lives meaning or value now that everything's been lost. Where they fight from, or at least, where they come back to recoup and rearm, and then also what makes them unique. So you just go through these, and then you can layer a story on top of them. Again, we had our Cities of Sigmar thing. If you're into 40k, this could just as easily be, I don't know, I don't really know many 40k factions, to be perfectly honest with you. Adeptus Mechanicus, their Forge World was annihilated, so now they are looking to just basically recoup the raw materials to build a new one, and they stumble upon a, the standard template construct thing. It would be their holy site, because they're all techno dudes, and then whatever makes them unique. Right, so it's the same format, but we're just layering the things relevant to our faction and the place where it takes, its setting, I guess you could say. And this is all on page 12 and 13, and again, the intro here by Andy Clark is essentially just explaining what I just did, which is, use it for rough outlines and then you can layer a story on top of that. But it is quite helpful for establishing all different kinds of factions. And honestly, if you're doing a Path to Glory campaign and you want to spice things up a bit, maybe you don't need a whole new player to bring a whole new army. If you wanted to add a dash of mystery or intrigue in there, you could. If one of you has multiple armies, just make a quick backstory for it, why it's fighting in this particular Path to Glory mission, and that's it. It can die, it can go away, never play it again, but it just kind of adds a little bit more of a story element of various armies clashing against each other to the whole setting that you're trying to play in. I love it. On the next page here, just wrapping up, there are a few examples. There's Ultramarines, Tyranids, and Ironjaws from Age of Sigmar, and basically, they just show you what the person, writing this rolled, and then kind of how they fit it into their faction if you need some more examples. Because again, that's the kind of the part that requires more imagination, I would say, in terms of conforming your army to a said narrative. But there are some fantastic examples here that you can enjoy. Now, where things get really interesting, in my opinion, is where you kind of use the established lore in a battle tome and generators like this, and you kind of weave them together. You can use them to fill in gaps for one another. So, for example, in the Stormcast Eternals battle tome, there is a chamber called the Vanguard Chamber. One of the heroes there is a Knight Zephyros. Okay, it's sort of a unremarkable hero model that if you really like and you want that to be your general or your leader for your Path to Glory mission, you can use this generator to make that story even cooler, and I'll show you what I mean. This example is, of course, like I said before, filling in gaps in this generator with stuff from your battle tome or codex, whatever. So, for example, I'm going to roll an origin story as normal, but when it comes to the mission, well, my Knight Zephyros, they are used as Sigmar's personal assassins. So, you know what? Forget rolling on this table. I'm just going to pick this one down here, Assassination. This army has a list of priority targets that need to be eliminated. Why? Because my Knight Zephyros is my leader. I want to use that character as my, the story arc, or the anchor of my story, rather. So forget the list. I'm just going to choose what makes sense thematically based on what my battle tome tells me about the army, and then I'll do the rest as normal. You could do the same thing with Carriage and Overlords. If you have a specific skyport picked out, forget the origin story. Build off the rest of it. And so with this, you can use your battle tome to kind of pre-select or fill in gaps of this if you're really not sure what you want to do, but you want to keep your faction and your army completely thematic. So anyway, friends, I hope you found this helpful. Sometimes Games Workshop puts these things up as a PDF later. If you can't find it, I'm sure you can find this copy online very, very easily, and probably for fairly cheap, because once an issue goes out, they tend to show up online pretty low price. But if you're going to a narrative event that requires, or at least has an option for, creating background for your faction, These things are perfect because they give you all the story beats in a very succinct way that people who have to judge those kinds of things are looking for. Where you're from, where you're going, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and what makes you special. If you have any thoughts or questions or other ways to use a generator like this, go ahead and leave it in the comments down below. I'll respond to you there. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll catch you next time. Happy wargaming.